the Sounds of Stadia podcast. You join myself, Chris, alongside my very honoured guest today from StadiaSource.com. As part of the Gaming Source Network, we have one, Mr. Avery Krouse. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Good to be here today.
It's one of all of those time zones when you're joining the channel as well, thanks to the world that we live in. And below him, the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie, joining us once again this week. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well. Welcome, Avery.
Welcome, Avery.
Hello.
Because it's early morning for you, Avery, and it's mid-afternoon for us on this lovely Sunday.
It's fine, you guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Very, very early morning. I would not be doing this podcast this early. Tom and Richie are always trying to get me to do it earlier, and I always
I'm
push
not.
back.
It's all Tom.
Well, and we should probably point out, obviously, Avery is not Tom. Tom isn't with us this week. He's spending some well-deserved time with his family. Obviously, Avery, you'll know as well, the entire world is suffering through this crazy thing still, and there's limitations on who you can see and where you're allowed to hang out, indoors, outdoors, all those rules and regulations. And in the UK, we're starting to ease on some of them now, so Tom's made the trek to see his family this weekend, so well deserved, and I'm sure he's having a great time right now, and the rare sunshine that we actually have in the UK this whole week, so we're enjoying it whilst we can. But you're not here to talk about the weather, but you're here for some Stadia news, because this is the Sounds of Stadia podcast, the longest running Stadia podcast this side of Google Maps. And we say that, Avery, in case people don't know, we say it every week. That's because the guys over at StadiaCast beat us by a few weeks. So we have to say this side of Google Maps, this side of the Atlantic, just to keep ourselves copyrighted.
What does Google Maps have to do with any of
We're
this?
just linking it in with Google and
Yeah.
Stadia. We could say the globe, but loads of other podcasts say this side of the globe, and I feel like we're stealing their rigmarole, so...
Yeah, you can only steal so much stuff from other podcasts.
Yes, that's it. There's only so much. So yes, this side of Google Maps, we're the longest running. We're up to episode 83. And we are here to bring you all the weekly gaming and Stadia news rounded up for your listening or viewing pleasure here at youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia. And we are available on all the podcasters around the Google Map globe, I guess. Spotify, Google Podcasts, and the like. What's your preferred podcast of choice, Avery? What's your go-to app on your phone?
I'm a Pocket Casts guy. I have been a Pocket Cast guy for like almost a decade now. It is beyond. It's my favorite app. I am into the thousands of hours of podcast listening on that particular app. I would almost shudder to look at what my stats are right now.
How about you, Richie?
I'm listening to most of my podcasts actually through YouTube. I love to just like stick them on my watch later list. Everything goes on the watch later list, and then when I get time, I can just work my way through it.
Yeah, there is something beneficial about seeing people's faces and emotions and stuff when they're talking about, especially something passionate like gaming that we all are.
Sometimes I'm not watching the video, I'm just listening to it as a podcast just via YouTube.
Yeah, and you give them the views, of course, just like you can by clicking like down below, subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell so you are kept in the loop with all things Sounds of Stadia, because we've got a great show for you this week. Not only do we have a very special guest who we'll give a very more detailed introduction to in just a moment, but we're going to be talking about all the Ubisoft Plus excitement that happened this week for everybody in America, in the United States. And we'll be talking about all of the news that trickled down from various different outlets. We've got some Battlefield 6 news. I think they haven't numbered it yet, but we're going to be talking about that. Some farming excitement. Games dropped. Everyone in the Stadia community loves a bit of Farming Simulator. Some new games from the Celeste Devs and a bunch of other topics. But before we get into all that, we've introduced him already. But let's do a proper introduction for Mr. Avery from StadiaSource.com. Welcome, sir. Welcome. Tell the audience who may not know of you somehow from the Stadia community what you get up to, who you support, and your colleagues, all the wonderful people over at Stadia Source and Gaming Source Network are. The floor is yours, sir.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. The Stadia Source world has recently changed, as a lot of folks know. And over in that land, I am the creative content manager. So I handle everything that goes on video, whether that's our weekly podcasts, whether that's gaming reviews, live stream plays, all those kind of things. I do a little bit of streaming myself, very, very little streaming myself. these days, but I do a lot of behind the scenes things in that regard. I am the host of the weekly GSN Roundtable podcast, which you guys have been on numerous times before, and we always love having you every time you are. I am also, I will very soon be known as Judge Avery in the First Circuit Court of the Gaming Source Network, with a brand new show launching on May 1st called The Best Game of All Time, which some folks around here might also be on at some point in the near future-ish, if you happen to tune into that, where we will be pitting 2 games against each other. 2 games enter, 1 game leaves. And that has been a super fun project to work on. I've already got the first about 12 episodes ready to go. And that'll be every other Saturday morning Eastern, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Gaming Source Network. So yeah, that's what I do over at GSN with my big old team of streamers and the Stream Team, Dream Team, and all the wonderful folks over there.
What I need to know, though, about the Best Game of All Time podcast is this game going to be on there? For anyone who...
There are like 48 games on your... Yeah. Oh, is that Pokemon?
This is Gen 1 Pokemon. You know,
we keep being we because some of the other folks on our crew, Dan, our editor-in-chief, and the leader of Stadia Source and Gaming Source Network, and Carly, our marketing and branding manager, are both super big Pokemon fans. So the first 5 minutes of the What Have You Been Playing session that is on every nerdy beardy white guy podcast ever, that is always, well, I've been playing Pokemon Go, and I've been playing Pokemon Snap, and I've been playing Pokemon Cafe, and so we're like, welcome to PokeSource, your number 1 source for all things Pokemon. So if y'all want to do, best number 1 Pokemon out there, we can totally do that. But I haven't had a Pokemon episode booked just yet. Who knows? Might be.
Who knows? Revealing a bit of the curtain there, Richie. But yes, we should do a big thank you to you guys over at StadiaSource.com, especially. Obviously, expansion aside, all the time prior to that, a lot of our news stories come from the hard work and effort and energy that your entire team puts in over there. So I think from us to you, we would like to say a massive thank you to everyone at Stadia Source and the newly expanded Gaming Source Network, because I don't think our show would be as good as it is without all the work that you guys put in. We generally have to do the research ourselves.
Harder to pull together.
Yeah, it's so easy. Just copy the links across to our doc from StadiaSource.com.
Yeah, that's the whole reason the GSN Roundtable works, is because I can literally just go to StadiaSource.com and control click everything. And just new tab, new tab, new tab, new tab, new tab, new tab. Great. I have my show notes talk ready to go.
Exactly. It's wonderful. Yeah. There's only so much vamping you can do without some concrete show notes. So, thank you to everyone over there. And thank you and welcome once again. So go check out Avery's content. Go check out all the guys over at Gaming Source Network. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show this week. Our YouTube memberships are still live. So if you are a big fan of the content we make over here at Sounds of Stadia, do click join down below on our YouTube page and you can become part of the team. From as little as 99 pence, you get exclusive perks such as lovely little badges next to your name in the chat. Tom, our designer, has brought some lovely tiny little pixelated Stadia controllers. So you start off with the Premier Edition. It expands through all the different colours, and I think Wasabi we're holding in the... Oh, is it the Founders we're holding the highest regard, Richie?
I can't remember. There's some Founders of Wasabi.
There's some form of combination.
Actually, I think it's time based on when your badge change. Not it's not tied to the tier. I think Wasabi is the third one, which I think you're going to be in the longest before you.
That's what I always get confused with. Yeah. So the longer you're with us as part of the membership program, the more your badge will change and evolve, like Richie's aforementioned Pokemon. And aside from that, you get perks. You get our side quest show where we go off the beaten path and talk about a Stadia specific subject that's not in the news. Avery, the news constrains the show sometimes a little bit to what your talking points are. And as much as we love to branch out and talk about more things in the wider world of gaming, we just don't have the time on this show. So naturally, we made a whole separate show called Sounds of Stadia Side Quest, where we go into that in depth. Sometimes we run over the clock, generally about half an hour or so. And this week we've got a great show lined up, and our members get that 5 days early. But as with all of our content, we don't like to gatekeep any of it. It does go onto free feeds eventually. So if you want to be patient, it'll drop on Friday. And we also here at the Sounds of Stadia channel, Avery, we do live streams. And I've specifically put this one on the dock because I know you've played this game as well, and a lot of people out there have. Resident Evil Biohazard, and I needed to drop this in because I know Dan scared the shit out of you on your Resident Evil stream. It wasn't the game. It was Dan jumped into your stream, surprised you and was it Scarlett you were playing with at the time, and just screamed into the microphone out of nowhere, and your reaction was priceless. So, how are you finding Resident Evil and Night Terrors?
I hate that game. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate that game. I hate it. And I hate it. And Dan is
an asshole,
a right ruddy bastard. Yeah, just no. That was not a good day. That whole day was not a good day. Now I haven't had any dreams of walking through a mold infested house. Thank goodness. I have weird dreams anyways, but that has not been one of them. But no, don't like that game. Don't like that game. Didn't like that play. Didn't like Dan. No. Yeah. Not a,
you just need to keep your studio locked down so no one else can jump in, especially when you're playing horror games.
The problem is Dan is the owner, so it's his StreamYard account. So I can't be like, oh no entry for you. And I didn't. I know I had this enabled, so I think he disabled the little boop that happens whenever somebody joins. Because if I had heard the boop, I would have looked over and noticed that Dan was there. So I think he disabled that on purpose. I think it was a masterminded plan from day one because he is evil and he has no soul.
Well, I think even if you'd put all the locks on, Dan, with all his knowledge and know-how of coding, would have been able to crack in, sneak his way, and he's probably in the game itself somewhere, no doubt, to jump out next time. But
he's hacked Capcom servers and
Well, you could have paid them 10 million like Stadia did to gain access. You just never know. You never know.
So true.
But we should talk about that because me and Richie jumped into the DLC, the Not a Hero DLC, which brings Chris Redfield back into the mix, and you play as him in a more action-focused kind of little bit of side story. Really fun. Not as scary, funny enough, Avery, because Chris starts with a shotgun, so you're a lot more empowered from the get-go to deal with these creatures. We thought it was going to take about 5 hours. We actually finished it in just pretty much the 2-hour mark. Great fun.
I did the classic thing before we started the stream. I'll Google like how long to beat, and it's like 4 or 5 hours. Like okay, there's probably 2 streams in there. It's like it's more like 2.
Yeah, we finished it. We kicked some molded ass. But it was fun, and I don't know whether it's just because playing the whole game, I'm now a little bit desensitized to the creatures. They're not as jump scary. They did get me a few times still.
Yeah, there was.
But yeah, there's still a good few times. Every Resident Evil game has it. But I'm very excited for Village. Where do you stand on Village, Avery? Have you pre-ordered it just for the Premier Edition, or has Dan put you off horror games altogether?
So the thing is, I don't play horror games at all. Like I was trepidatious about just playing Dead by Daylight. And I get that Dead by Daylight is not a scary game per se. Like it's hide and seek, but with monsters. But I still I'm sitting there going like, oh, I can hear the heartbeat music. I've not pre-ordered Resident Evil 8. No, I'm not playing Village. No, not a thing.
Not even for the Premier Edition.
I don't know. I don't need it. I have way too many Premier Editions sitting right there. Yeah. I do not need to add even more to the stack.
I think that goes for a lot of people in the
My wife will become the scary person if I keep ordering these things.
I want another controller. That's one of the main reasons I pre-ordered it.
Just to make
I only
sure
have 2, and I want another white one to go downstairs so I can keep the founders up here.
So you're buying it out of sheer convenience so you don't have to walk downstairs, Richie?
Yes.
I think that's...
Also, I do actually want to play the game.
That says more about you than the Stadia promotion, I think, at this point.
Yeah. But I should clarify, downstairs I've got 2 charging docks. One of them's got my 2 DualSense controllers in, so they're both white. And then the one next to it has got my usual 2 Stadia controllers in. One's white and one's blue. So I need a white one.
Right, so you're doing it just from a...
symmetry.
Yeah.
It's a design aesthetics choice. Yeah. Okay.
I have the wasabi sitting in my living room, and it doesn't go with anything else in that room. So
that means you need to, by Richie's rule, Avery, you need to decorate the entire living room to compensate for the wasabi. Yeah, you could go for a nice Japanese Zen approach.
nice calming space to play Resident Evil in.
You need it
It's not a
sometimes.
thing.
You need it
No.
with the lights on specifically. But that's not all for our housekeeping this week. We're also I'm in the middle of working out our promised FIFA Soccer Saturday with our lovely friend Chase, the gaming advocate, over on his channel. We're both MLS fans. We both support rival teams. So what better way than to hit the turf playing FIFA 21, and hopefully I'll win. But we're ironing some dates out for that one. I'm a competitive individual, Avery, so as much as I love Chase to bits, he's going down when it comes to to the game of football or soccer.
Shots fired.
Now soccer. That's the checkerboard roundy one, right?
It's
not the Stewie face egghead one. Got it.
Sports ball.
Okay.
Yeah, sports ball. That's what we play.
Ball. Got it.
And so check out that. Keep it locked to our Twitter feeds for the news and that. We're locking down a date, but we'll let you know as soon as we can. And I'm looking forward to it. But anything can happen in the beautiful game, Avery. Anyone can win on their day. That's the great thing with the sport. You can be as good as you can. You can be worth millions upon millions of dollars. And Barry from the local pub can still kick your ass if he wants to. So we shall see how it goes. No offense to anyone called Barry out there. But that's all the housekeeping we've got. Let's get into the bulk of the Stadia and gaming news we've got this week. And as an honoured guest, you could do us the honour of introducing the
super sexy special Stadia stories segment, aka the
news.
The news indeed. And it's been a busy week. Thank you for that. We do it all the time. We give our honoured guests the rundown of it, the lovely alliteration, which I actually learnt the other day that apparently if you use the letter S, it's not alliteration.
Really?
Every other letter is alliteration, but S, I don't know why. It might be phonetically, it's different. I can't remember the explanation my wife gave me, but she's a teacher and I believe her. So Richie,
I think she's just
I don't know that I would agree with that.
That's what by default thought if it's just letter after letter after letter, it's immediate alliteration.
She's going to be sat there on Monday listening to this episode and chuckling at herself that you fell for it.
Let's see, is using S alliteration.
It's sibilance.
That's what she said. That's the word. So there you go.
Because yes, sibilant. Yes, sing a song of sixpence when it is a hissing sound. So sh would also be should, shell, shocked, shelly. That would be sibilance as well. Or the CH or the TH sound, or the Z, the X, the F, and the soft C. So if you can figure out how to put zebra, zoos, sounding, then there you go. You have your sibilance.
See, it's not just a gaming podcast.
You'd think I would have known that as a voice major, but I don't.
But now we do. Now we all know. And we should all listen to our teachers more. That's all I'll say on that one. First news story of the week, ladies and gentlemen, is more gaming related, I promise you. It's the discussion of EA's Battlefield tease. EA came up this week and announced that they're not working on it with just one studio, but we have internal studios at EA. They've got DICE Criterion, DICE LA, and Electronic Arts Gothenburg are all collaborating on this year's super secret Battlefield game, because they had a bit of a hiatus last year. They've came out and declared it's going to be the biggest ever Battlefield game, and here at Sounds of Stadia, Avery, we are big fans of trying to stay positive about the future of the gaming industry, especially when it relates to Stadia. And we should always look at this type of news, even though they've not mentioned it coming to Stadia, we like to think that it will be coming at some point in the future. So rather than just ignore it and push it to one side, in a lot of the conversation that me and Richie and Tom have off camera as well, thinking about will this game come, leads us to adding it into the doc. So it's not confirmed. You didn't hear it here. We're not a news website. We just like to talk about games.
Breaking news from Sounds of Stadia. Battlefield releasing on... No.
Exactly. But again, we were promised games from EA. We've got 3 of them. We're still waiting to see what the next ones are in line. And our side quest episode this week will delve into that a little bit more. But I love the Battlefield games. I had a great time. I think my most enjoyable one was Battlefield 1, where they went back to the First World War. They broke down into little vignette stories. The games always look gorgeous and beautiful. We're probably crying out for a AAA first-person shooter on Stadia. I would just love the planets to align and us to get this brand new game day and date. So, Avery, as our guest, I will throw it over to you first to just tell us a little bit about your kind of gaming history with the franchise, if any, and what your thoughts are of this potentially coming across to Stadia as one of the promised 5 EA titles.
So, I've never played any games in the series. The military shooters are not a genre that has ever spoken to me. So your Call of Duties and your Battlefields have never been in my list. But there's a saying that I've said on Twitter way too many times, which is a game isn't coming to Stadia when they say it isn't coming to Stadia. Otherwise, there's no reason to discount it or write it off. And I was furiously Googling real fast. Battlefield is done via the Frostbite engine. The Frostbite engine now has support for Stadia because that's what FIFA 19 and Madden 19 were built off of. So there's now that the Frostbite engine itself has support for the Stadia platform, there's no reason they can't add the APKs and say send to Stadia and generate that game, as well as Mass Effect Andromeda or Star Wars Battlefront or all these other ones that I'm seeing over here on my screen. There's no reason that those couldn't be coming. So until they say we have no plans to release Battlefield on Stadia, it very well could come to Stadia.
Yeah, we all know the way Stadia do these. They like to not tell you anything until just before it comes out, which is annoying because I like to know what games are coming out so I can plan my spending accordingly. But that's unfortunately what Stadia do.
That is in their model. But me personally, I hold a lot of hope that because we're still waiting on 2 more games, and as you mentioned, Avery, we knew with FIFA and Madden taking a little bit longer to get across, whereas Jedi Fallen Order came out quite a while back now, which doesn't run on Frostbite, that runs on Unreal. We knew that it was something to do with the engine, but now they've got 2 titles out of AAA quality. You would like to think they're working continuously towards the next big thing. And the brief description they gave as part of their announcement was they're in daily playtesting mode right now. So this game is very much ready to be polished and balanced and ready to go live later this year. No doubt it's going to be in the autumn time, similar to Call of Duty. That's how Battlefield like to play this with EA. They put a lot of force behind it and kind of try and go toe-to-toe with that Activision Call of Duty behemoth every year. They take a year off, they come back, the games always look gorgeous. They have specifically said, by the way, that this will not be coming to PS4 and Xbox One, so this is a very much next-gen only title. Which now makes me think, is that going to be the first proper next-gen game Stadia gets? Because Cyberpunk was cross.
Shouldn't have been cross.
Shouldn't have been. Resident Evil obviously came out and said that they're actually going to bring last-gen versions out as well, so that's Resident Evil off the table. So is this the first next-gen game? That's Stadia. Well, again, if Stadia gets it, that is. I can't think of any of the titles that are purely next-gen yet. All the PlayStation ones are either exclusives.
6?
Far Cry 6 gotta be last-gen, right?
All the above.
We're so early in this console generation that it doesn't make sense for publishers to only publish the major titles on the new generation, especially with the console shortages.
Yeah.
When you look how many PlayStation 4s out there compared to 5s, why wouldn't you want it on PlayStation 4 at this point in time?
Oh, 100%. But there always has to be that cut-off point. We know that where the technology gets too far away from last gen and it starts being detrimental to the design and the scope of the game.
My guess is EA for Battlefield have looked at it and went, this isn't going to run on PS4, so we're not going to put it on this.
That would be a smart decision.
And it really depends on when production started on it. If production started on it 5 years ago, then of course it'll come out on everything because that's the level of technology they were developing for at the time. But if they've started developing this 2 years ago, when PS5 and SSX dev kits were going out, then maybe they were like, well, we just have no plans. There's no point in going backwards, forward only, and it's not going to come out for another X months. Hopefully by then all the shortages will be resolved. I say because we bought a house, we're moving into it in 2 weeks, and I want to buy an X and have it under my giant TV that I'm finally able to buy because my wife is letting me have a giant TV. So I hope the shortages are done soon because I want one.
Fingers crossed. As a point to that, the last Battlefield game, Battlefield 5, was released in 2018. It did have its final expansion, Into the Jungle, came out 2020. So it has been some time, actually. I didn't realise it had been that long since the last entry. And the EA did also clarify next month that they were taking staff from Criterion from the Need for Speed title to work on this game. That could be something to do with them purchasing Codemasters and them maybe wanting to use Codemasters' expertise on the new Need for Speed entry. But it looks like all of their focus right now is on Battlefield, and obviously their sports franchises that get annualized. But this, unless someone in the comments let us know, I'm confident this is probably the first next-gen game that Stadia could get, if it's one of that magic EA5 we were promised. Because we noticed, Avery, pre-show, that Mr. Phil Harrison said these 5 EA titles were coming. He said that almost a year to the day.
Yeah.
So either we'd like an update.
You haven't been following. You haven't been following his secret Twitter account. He posts all the time. His TikToks are hilarious.
Oh, if only. If only. I would laugh at Phil Harrison's TikTok videos if he was to put some out. But almost a year to the day. 2 titles still in the bag, and you'll have to check out our side quest show to get our deeper thoughts on it. But essentially, would you feel slightly frustrated, Avery, if the 2 spare titles we're waiting on ended up just being FIFA 22 and Madden 22? So you'll have 2 of the same franchise of the 5. How would that sit with you?
There's nothing saying. This is part of that. There's nothing saying only 5 EA titles ever will be on Stadia.
Yeah.
There are currently 5. What he was saying, without being able to verbalize it, because you can't, is we've signed a contract for 5. Probably we paid for 3 of them, and then the other 2 they're just giving us. So we signed a contract for 5. That doesn't mean that since that time a year ago now, they haven't signed further contracts for further titles. I would be real surprised if, now that what likely happened was the contract that they signed was to do the dev work to get Frostbite running on Stadia. That was the contract that they signed, and so they knew they could get these number of titles. So it wouldn't surprise me if we get catalog titles as some of those 5. There was nothing saying 5 brand new titles, because Fallen Order was one of those. So it could be catalog titles, could be the Mass Effect, could be lots of things. Could be Need for Speed. They have plenty of stuff in their back catalog from Frostbite. So to me, it's not that we will only ever get 5 EA titles. If they stop at 5 and we no longer get any other EA titles for the life of the rest of the Stadia console, there's a lot bigger of a problem there.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It wasn't what the 5 were, it's that there were only 5.
This was the first deal between EA and Stadia, basically.
Yeah.
We've made a deal for 5 titles. It's why I actually think it's less likely to be backlog from too long ago, because wouldn't make sense to set a deal around that. It'd be titles that are active. And I did speculate that Anthem could have been one of them.
And we all know where that went.
Yeah.
But I think the big reason that I'm quite confident that it could be Battlefield is because it'll be in the public mind's eye. EA have already probably signed off on a big marketing campaign for it, so that kind of goes hand in hand with any promotion. Stadia essentially get free marketing because EA are going to front the cash for that one. They just need, hopefully, their logo on all of the marketing. That's the only thing we need to happen. But again, it's a big shooter. It's going to be in the vernacular of people like this coming autumn, and yeah, I just like to see it. I think Stadia needs a good AAA first-person shooter and another big title. Resident Evil, we've seen how good Cyberpunk and Resident Evil were for the platform. They need to keep getting those big hitters. If another year passes and we don't get one of the we probably know Call of Duty is a long, long way off. We know Fortnite's probably a long way off from what we've heard from Epic and Activision. EA clearly are willing to play ball to some degree, so this should be something where Stadia can put their eggs in this basket and say, well, can we get Battlefield? And if it runs well, if it does great, it's great for all parties, hopefully. So other than that, there's not really that many franchises, like you said, Richie. They don't want to delve too far back into the back catalogue, because then how beneficial is for either party. So businesses always are forward-facing. They're always thinking about the next thing in the future. They might look back to make a bit of money off nostalgia, but is it worth it? So we'll see. You and me, Richie, are big fans, hopefully, of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and we're hoping for a stealth drop on Stadia this coming week, because me and Richie both said, Avery, that we're both going to spend several hundred hours probably on our PS5s if that's the case, because we're both looking to play it. We've never played Mass Effect games before. There's a compilation game coming out this May. I'm going to be playing it. If it's not,
I'd
love to
this
play on
when
Stadia.
it was nothing more than rumours.
Yeah, and if it's not coming to Stadia, then there's me and Richie who are going to be playing a competitor's console for the foreseeable, because that's 3 games in one. And it's little decisions like this that over time they start to stack up. So we shall see. We shall see indeed. But that's Battlefield 6. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below if you think we'll be getting it this coming autumn. If not, let us know why. Next big story up on the news doc this week, however, is from Ubisoft. Very similar to EA. Big, massive corporation. Runs multiple studios around the globe and brings us wonderful games. Bit of an update on Ubisoft Plus this past week, and we said pre-show, Avery, we're delighted to have you here, being stateside. Where in particular United States are you based? Is it? I want to say Baltimore,
I'm
but I
in
don't
the
know.
Baltimore,
Is it? Yeah.
Maryland area. Yes, boom.
Do you know?
Charm City helps. Granted, there's no reason you'd know that our nickname is Charm City.
Nope.
So yeah, the nickname. I will no longer. So my wife and I actually had a very fascinating discussion yesterday over we're moving about 40 minutes outside the city as of 2 weeks from now when the close happens, and I was like, well, is that still the suburbs? Would we consider that a suburb? So I might be a Baltimore suburbanite soon enough. Otherwise I'll have to change my name to Bel Air City. I don't know. I'm moving with my auntie and uncle to Bel Air, Maryland.
No, well, everyone knows how that one goes. For the amount of years I called it just Maryland as a child as well. We have in the UK we have things called
Merland.
Yeah,
M-U-R, Merland.
Yeah, because we have over in the UK some of the best cookies you can get. Maryland chocolate chip cookies.
They are good.
They are very good. I spent many years of my childhood eating an entire packet in one go. Probably nothing to do with your state or locale.
He says childhood.
I gotta look these up now. Maryland chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah. You get a few different
Maryland
varieties.
Chocolate chip cookies.
I'm guessing they're not in any shape affiliated.
From Burton's Biscuits. Maryland range. Full chocolate chip. Yeah, no, those just look like cookies. They just look like normal cookies.
Yeah, they are. They're good.
They look good, but they just look like normal cookies.
Yeah, there's nothing special. They're just good value. They're cheap.
We have these cookies they're called burger cookies. BERGER, and they're like ultra thin and crispy. And the big one of those they're called black and whites. So they're cookies, they're flat, almost sugar cookies, coated one half with like chocolate and one half with I think white chocolate. Maybe it's vanilla or not, so that it's like a black and white disc. And that's the big cookie over here in Maryland.
That's awesome.
Granted, you guys are from where the Mary of Maryland is, so like she was a figure over there and slightly important.
Aside from that, yeah, I'm still on the hunt for the United States orange Fanta, because the orange Fanta in the UK it's not orange Fanta, quite frankly, to me. It's watered down. There's certain EU regulations that prevent us from putting the sugar in that makes the drink taste amazing. And whereas yours is genuinely orange, ours is like a pissy yellow. It's terrible in comparison.
It's them pesky E numbers.
Yeah, that apparently, they're not healthy for you. Let's pivot back towards Stadia.
Welcome back to Sounds of Snacking here on the.
One day. But yes, so Ubisoft, they kind of confused everybody this week. Well, I say Ubisoft. Stadia confused everybody this week by announcing that Ubisoft Plus was now available in the US, which, looking at the Twitter thread, everyone questioned, isn't it already out? And they had to clarify that actually it's just now available within the app. To which inevitably brought an entire backlash of everyone else on the planet asking, when is it coming to everybody else? So right at the moment, it's still only available in the United States. Great chance that we've got you on, Avery, because either you've possibly had a chance to get it or you're surrounded by people who can actively use it and play this subscription model. The rest of the globe, however, where funnily enough Ubisoft is primarily based in Canada, France, and everywhere else, they don't have access to it. And I think it's starting to bug a couple of people because these Ubisoft titles come out, people want to play them, and there's a lot of people who I've seen who are actively holding off for this subscription rather than going out and buying the games outright. And so have you had a chance to play it yet? isn't it a weird marketing push to put out when it's not really news? And how do you feel on Ubisoft Plus? Have you got it yourself?
So I have not subscribed, but I'm in the boat of people who have not purchased. Like, I didn't buy Immortals Phoenix Rising because I figured at some point I would subscribe to Ubisoft Plus for a month, play all I wanted of it, and then stop. I wouldn't have bought Valhalla. I didn't buy Valhalla. I got a code for it, huh? But I wouldn't have bought Valhalla on the same thing. I would have waited, did the Ubisoft Plus play for a month. So we had, of course, we ran an article on this, and we had the same reaction at first. We're like, wait. We already have this. What is different? So we reached out to Google for clarification. We reached out to Zebra, their PR firm. And the first clarification they gave us was, this is just Ubisoft Plus is leaving beta. So it was a beta, now it's leaving beta. We're like, okay, but what does that mean? Does that actually serve any purpose? Are you doing anything with it? And then about 10 minutes later, I got another email saying, sorry, it's not that it's leaving beta, it's that it can now be purchased inside the app. So apparently it's still a beta, still US only. The only change was that it could now be purchased inside the app, and yet none of their phrasing anywhere had anything remotely resembling that information in it. It was one of the weirdest and worst launches of a Stadia thing that they've done. Not worse in terms of like, pitchforks and torches, but worse is like, guys just failed at this. Like, there was no success. You rolled a 2. You didn't roll a nat 1. It wasn't a critical failure, but you rolled a 2 on this public relations check. Like, why?
Yeah, it kind of just reminded everyone that it's not out yet fully.
Yeah,
that's all it did.
Creating controversy. From nothing, they've created, like, it's an update to the app. This should have been a minor foot. This should have been at the bottom of the show if they'd done it properly.
All you had said was, and now you can use your Google Pay account to subscribe to Ubisoft Plus in the US beta only. Like, just put that at the very bottom, little thing. But to make it a headline of the story, hey guys, big Ubisoft news, big, and everybody's like, no,
yeah,
not big. And plus, if you already had subscribed to it, you've already subscribed to it, so it doesn't really impact anybody who's currently subscribed to it. So now they'll get 4 more people subscribed to it.
Yeah, because I guarantee you, with those like basic, like, obviously we know you can only use so many characters on Twitter, and your headline article can only fit so many words in. Everybody, and me included, saw the little notification pop up, saw the mention of Ubisoft Plus, and I thought, oh, fantastic, it's now out. Clicked it, read it, and then got confused, and then more confused as I read the article, and then...
Yep.
Again, Richie, it just served a reminder that the rest of the world don't have it yet, or in beta, or any way, shape, or form. And then that kind of just relights the fire of saying, when are we going to get it? Because people are holding off, and rightly so, to save money to try out this subscription model. And it's great that it works in-app now. That's wonderful. It's a great quality of life improvement. But it's not headline... tweet-worthy news, really. So
I just don't know why they're not just doing like a global base. How much would it cost them to get it set up in the UK and mainland Europe?
This has puzzled us too, because I'm trying to work out in my head, like, I know I work for a software company. I know there are reasons you do things in the order you do things. There are technical reasons or there are business reasons. There's either a technical challenge or there's an operational challenge. And the operational challenge could be regulatory, or it could be something with licensing fees. Yeah. Maybe they're licensed to like Ubisoft Europe's licensing for some of these games is different because they were published by Ubisoft Canada, and so the license only covers blah 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 blah, whatever. So there's got to be a reason that they haven't done it yet, but I can't think of any technical reason, because you can still play Immortals Phoenix Rising in Poland. You just can't get Ubisoft Plus in Poland on Stadia.
That's the thing. It's
it there.
Ubisoft Plus already exists in the countries we're talking about. The games we're talking about already exist on Stadia. It feels like everything should be in place.
Yeah. It's just kind of the semantics in between that's stopping it. That's all it really is, which is odd. But headline news. Maybe it was a quiet week for them this week, and they put it out there. It can't be far off now, surely. Like, how long does it stay in beta? Like, what information are they gathering this week from this beta than they would have done a month ago? Like, surely they know the demographic, they know the Stadia player base, they know the existing Stadia Ubisoft Plus player base in those countries, so just kind of flick the switch, guys.
Yeah.
Not sure if you guys are fans of musicals. I'm a big Broadway fan, West End for you guys over there. But there's a musical there's a Shrek musical. David Lindsay-Abaire, really fantastic musical. Starred Sutton Foster as Fiona. And her intro song is her in the tower singing about how today is the day that the prince is going to come and rescue me. And it starts with a little girl. There's a princess in a tower, and she's like, it's day 43. I know it's today. And then she goes around the tower and out comes a teenager. She's like, day number 915. I know it's today. And then she goes around the tower and then Sutton Foster comes out. And she's like, day number 4823. I know it's today. And it happened to be that day for her. But that's the whole thing about like Ubisoft Plus, Luna launching in other places. Like, it's got to be soon, guys.
That reminds me of
day
FIFA,
number
actually.
894. It's got to be soon.
Yeah.
We actually had a counting up from how long it took between FIFA launching on other platforms to launching on Stadia.
It needs to be done because
I know it's today. I know it's today.
And I know
it's today.
a lot of people over at Stadia Source, I think, follow the same thing with us, that we just want some kind of clarity on dates, times, time frames for most things, because the rest of the industry does that. Yeah, here we are still. 2021.
I don't know if I should say it because I had a terrible thought today. I was scrolling Twitter when I first woke up, and somebody was like, Stadia, all I want is to be able to buy a 6-month subscription or a 12-month subscription so that at a discount. And what triggered in the back of my mind is, if they can't do that because they don't know if it'll be here in 12 months. But that's a horrible thought, and it's not true, and I don't want to believe that.
They wouldn't tell us until the day before anyway.
No.
So we could live happily up until the day of the execution, and then we were like, "Oh well, like I don't have a long, slow, painful death. At least just get it over and done with."
We're all getting partial refunds now. Okay.
Massive refund, hopefully. But moving on then to some actual news, I guess. Ubisoft Plus will be with us when, probably by the time this podcast goes up. I won't be surprised if it just shadow drops this Sunday afternoon. That's the way of things. We did find out though. We are getting the long-running series continuing, Farming Simulator 22. Now, this bodes well for hopefully other titles, because there's some disruption as well out there regarding Football Manager 22 being non-existent on the platform. Obviously, we don't know about the future FIFA and Madden sports titles, but these games that usually have yearly iterations, you'd hate to think that the next entry does not come to the platform. Something's seriously wrong from a business stand or relationship standpoint if they're happy to put one on and then something's happened which prevents the next follow-up coming to the platform. That doesn't bode well. So if we don't see FIFA 22, if we don't see Madden 22, if Football Manager just never comes, how long does that go on for before it starts becoming really detrimental? Because it's not a good look if you... It's almost like they tried it and they didn't like it. So, hopefully not. But Farming Simulator is here to back that up. With the shortest teaser ever.
When that happens... Another hat. When that happens, unfortunately, it's because Stadia put down a check for number 1 and didn't put down a check for number 2. If we never get the next FIFA or the next Madden, it's because Stadia wrote a really big check for the first 2, and I wrote a really big check for the last Football Manager, didn't write the really big check for the next one, and the sales and redemption numbers via Stadia Pro or via actual sales didn't prove out that they would make their money back working on the next one. That is not to say that in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, when Stadia keeps putting out those money hats, they can say the Stadia sales team will go to an EA or a Capcom or a Square and say, okay, you're doing Final Fantasy, you've got Final Fantasy 16 out there. The year's exclusivity is over for PlayStation. Final Fantasy 15, we paid you $10 million to bring that game. I would hope not. We paid you $5 million to bring that game to our platform, and we saw 100,000 sales. Not great, whatever. This last game we paid $5 million for, we saw 800,000 sales. So that means you should bring your next game to us. So this is the whole thing about getting sequels, the next farming simulator, the next whatever. Don't put too much stock in it being a big deal right now. It sucks for people who want to play the next whatever, the next Football Manager. And yes, it just means yet another missed opportunity to put that person in the Stadia ecosystem and keep them there. But it doesn't mean that we're done with that series forever. I think when you start looking at the history in 20 years, assuming Stadia is still around, there were just going to be gaps. We got Madden 21, we didn't get 22, 23, but we did get 24 because, or things of that nature. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's that they need that war chest of money, and hopefully the closure of the studios will give them that freedom to dish out the cash a little bit, maybe more independently to those studios to keep these things, because I think consistency is very important when it comes to keeping people in an ecosystem.
I think it's not necessarily gaps we'll get. I think it's more like delays. Like we saw with FIFA, like Football Manager 21 is confirmed to come to Stadia, but the season's getting towards the end now.
Well, that's the problem with this.
Yeah. I thought it had never been confirmed, and that was the problem.
It's got a PEGI rating. That's as close to confirmed as you're getting on Stadia.
Yeah, until it's in the blog. That's true.
Yeah.
So hopefully only a matter of time. But thankfully, Farming Simulator are out there in the pastures, flying the flag for repeated titles. And
first ever game we streamed on Stadia, Farming Simulator 21.
There you go.
Or 20 wasn't. They didn't do a 21.
Yeah, they skipped. Yeah, they just peppered us with DLC instead.
Yeah.
So
nobody wanted anything more from 20. We're all done with 20.
Yeah.
20 can just rot.
That is true. So it's back. The Ultimate Farming Simulator returns this year. I love these simulator games. They're not really for me, but I just love the fact that they exist. There's a goat simulator, farming simulator. What else is there? There's everything, isn't there? I think I had a train roller coaster.
Truck simulator. I was watching it's either Stadia Dad or Stadia Vet, or Stadia Pro. One of the three Stadia something gamings. I jumped into their stream last night, and I think they were playing Truck Simulator on GeForce Now, and it was just watching them like trying to deliver a thing of pipes somewhere without smashing into buildings. And I watched it for longer than I thought I would, just fascinatedly, just going, oh, he's gonna hit the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't hit the thing. Okay. Oh, stop sign. Like,
he went down a dead end. How is he going to turn?
Find out next week.
He's gonna have to do an 88-point turn.
Yeah, there is something therapeutic about the management games. We've said the upcoming 100 Days, the wine simulator in the orchard. That looks fantastic. There's just something about
We've got plans for that.
We've got drunken plans for that one. So
just do an ASMR stream of it. Oh yeah, if you don't drink wine while streaming that one, what are you doing with your life?
What's wrong?
Oh, we are drinking wine doing that. That's basically the plan.
Drink...
We're going to drink wine and play wine simulator.
if you don't drink mead while streaming Mirek's Market, the blacksmithing simulator,
exactly.
What are you doing with your life?
Oh, I'm gonna have to buy some mead now.
The opportunities are endless. So yeah, new players, new agriculture, new animals, new forestry, all the other things you would expect from a farming simulator, cranked up to the max. So fill your boots when that one comes out.
With
that
16-player multiplayer.
Oh, I didn't even read that.
You can run your own farm with all of your friends collectively. There's part of me that looks at that and goes, that seems like the dumbest thing in the world. And then there's part of me that looks at that and goes, like, watching the stream going, all right, Jake, are you doing that? Okay, so you're getting the, no, bring the wheat over. Okay, great. Now we're going to have, Mary, you need to go over there. Like, I could see that just being weirdly, like,
you can, yeah.
Weird, really. I don't want to play it, but I can totally watch that and see like people like running an entire farm. I just want one of the 16 people just like floating above it, watching everybody else's tractors go.
Who lost the combine harvester?
Gaming Source Network to do like a farming sim stream. You can just sit back and watch it.
Everyone.
Yeah, so I will just watch all of the. All right, and Blue Bobs is now putting in the canola. Okay, and that'd be very different than my old Bomberman streams where I'm like, and Blue Bobs just unfortunately took out his left cattle fence.
He's gone indeed. So that was part of the community blog this week. Quite thin on the ground with that one. They also mentioned that Legend of the Keepers. I always want to add that in there. Is coming. We knew about that. It got a PEGI rating or some kind of rating not too long back. So that's coming April 29th. So at the time of listening, you may be able to pick that up some point later in the week. Essentially, you're a dungeon master. Tom's mentioned it before. It's a reverse dungeon crawler where you're actually the bad guys instead of the good guys. For a change, you have to defend your dungeon rather than take it, with also kind of anti-heroes. And the other only real game news this week was we got Judgment came out from Sega, the kind of Yakuza spin-off series. I've seen a couple of people tweeting about it. Runs very well from what I've heard. Not really for me at that particular price for a remastered game, but I'll keep one eye on it. Either of you two gentlemen jump into Judgment? Dish out any Judgment? Spelled differently in both of our correct respective countries. Yeah. We had an E in the UK apparently.
It's not my kind of game. I think somebody's gonna stream it on the channel. Maybe Bob's or Felix, but yeah, it's just not my. I mean, it looks fun. I mean, I'm sure it's fun. It's a great game. It's just not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
For me, I'm kind of saying it's something that I'd be intrigued by, and if I didn't have a decent backlog of games already, I'd be tempted to give it a go. But unfortunately, I do have too many games I want to play. So.
Everybody has a back catalogue. That's the problem with gaming today. Even the pro library is totally getting away from me right now. There's games in there that they drop, they're free. I go, that's great. I'll get round to that, and then another month ticks over, and I haven't touched them, and they fall slowly further back into that catalogue without a search bar. So I can't find them again. They're just lost to time and the clouds. Moving on then from the community blog, aside from the Stadia specific news, we did hear from the developers of Celeste, which we know is a very well revered Stadia game, one of the pro games that we just mentioned. They Extremely OK Games have announced they're working on another title, which we kind of expected. It's called Earthblade. It's a 2D explore action game in a seamless pixel art world, and they've released some teaser art for that game as well. With it being the follow-up to Celeste, I think it's probably going to come with a little bit more fanfare than Celeste initially did because of all the Game of the Year awards and such that it received. Super fun game, Celeste. I'm excited to see what they're bringing. And again, this goes back to our EA thing, Avery, where I would expect by default this should be coming to Stadia. We got Celeste. I'd like to think that relationship went well. The game was well received. It went pro. So there's a relationship there, and I'd hate to think that they're working on this one and a smaller team Google couldn't coerce into bringing across to Stadia. So by default, I just think, yeah, it's coming. Whatever this exciting new title will be, they can coerce.
Have to imagine too, because and again, it's going to be a 2D action game. Mm-hmm. It's not going to have a very high technical debt to it. There's no reason to think that this won't already be on it. And Celeste is probably one of the, along with like Dead Cells and Hollow Knight and Stardew Valley, it's got to be one of the top 3 to 4 to 5 indie games of the past decade. Like Cuphead in there too, if you consider that indie. Like it just has to be. So there's no reason to think that we're not also going to get Earthblade. The vibe check and the music was all really. I think the music in Celeste is almost better than anything else. I just put that soundtrack on every so often when I'm working. And yeah, I would be surprised if we don't get this. And I think. And this one, even Celeste was an interesting choice for Stadia to get to begin with, because Celeste is a twitchy platformer, and you have to, like, lag is the death of Celeste. You can't have lag and latency in that game, or you just can't play the game. I beat the whole thing on Stadia, and it was wonderful. I loved every minute of it. Scarlett's played quite a bit of it on our channel as well. And so it's there's no reason to think we won't get it, and it should be a much better received game on our side as well this time around, because people are like, Celeste? You can't play that on laggy Stadia. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's all great.
Stadia's nowhere near as laggy as people make out. Like,
no,
I've never felt any real latency or lag or in any Stadia title I've ever played.
That's what we're here for.
The pixelation every so often, but that's fine.
That's usually packet loss probably come from your
still
networking.
Playing Doom Eternal from in your Chrome browser. That's still amazing.
Yeah.
It's still amazing.
Yeah. One of the messages we always get out is our channel, your channel, every other Stadia channel. There's literally thousands upon thousands of hours of content you can now watch, and there is not a difference from playing it on a local console to streaming it. We've done we've all done the Stadia Super Saturday events, 24-hour marathons, but like ourselves, we've run like 8-9 hour streams non-stop with no glitches, no hiccups, jumping from game to game, from frantic shooters to chilled out indie games, and it works. So as long as you've got internet, there's nothing. But you're right in pointing that out. Yeah, Twitchy Games. And I'll use this opportunity to bring up a great article over at stadiasource.com from our friend Luke, as well as one of your review writers over there. Not review writers, he's one of your writers over there.
Editorialists.
Editorialists. Yeah. And we call them many other names other than editorialists, but he's one of our friends. Usually Luke. And that article goes in depth about how Celeste and kind of like mental health and stuff is really, really important. And I think if you've got time, go check that out, because it's very well written, and it's a great read to do with gaming too. But yeah, Celeste, I'm sure we're probably some time off with them being a small studio, but if it's anywhere even half as good as Celeste, I look forward to seeing it on Stadia.
They have it's dangerous because Celeste is so awesome that now it's like, we've got to land. This has to work.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for them.
The next game from Eric Barone, if it's not Stardew Valley greatness, is gonna be real bad. Like you can't just not deliver on the next one.
Should we start the campaign now to take the pressure off the devs? Because how highly Celeste is rated, that's an insane standard to try and hold them to every single game.
Call it the 7 out of 10 campaign. We're gonna be happy if you give us a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Just needs to be good.
Just good. And 7 out of 10 is probably what we gave the Square Enix Presents watch along that we did, Richie, a few weeks ago. And next story up on the dock is that Square Enix have confirmed that they will be at E3 2021. So it's starting to pick up some traction now. The publishers came out and confirmed that they're doing, again, of course, an all-digital event, because the world's not quite right yet. So they're going to be there, no doubt, with another Square Enix Presents, which is the title of their showcase. We got quite a lot out of the last one. Very Stadia beneficial as well. They've been very big supporters of Stadia. We've got Avengers, we've got Outriders, we've got Life is Strange, Dragon Quest. There's a lot of titles Square Enix have put across. Final Fantasy's on there, of course. A couple of things I'd like to see come across would be cool. It'd be nice if we saw the Nier Replicant game that just came out this week. I feel like I've seen it advertised everywhere. There's a lot of titles in Square Enix's library. We've got the Tomb Raider games, of course, are all there. So hopefully, again, I'm a big fan of those. Love them to pieces. I'm hoping the next iteration also comes to Stadia. There's no reason why it shouldn't. So I'm a big fan of the games that come across and support. And it's nice to see them being at E3. I think, Avery, you're probably looking forward to it this year because it's all going to be in one place. It's not going to be dragged out across several months like last year was. It seems like they're all agreeing to just get together in June and just do their digital presentations over that weekend, which is what we're traditionally used to. And last year was just every man and his dog just opted to do a digital showcase any day of the week. And as reviewers in the games news website, it's bloody hard to keep up with everybody.
Right. And then you're watching, like, this one's at 2 in the afternoon and this one's at 9 because they're in Japan, and this one's at this time, and you're like, just put it all in one place. Skip it. I'm just going to read the Verge article on it and then do a summary on my own. I just can't.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this one, particularly we're far enough out from Final Fantasy VII Remake. Supposedly had a 1-year exclusivity period. That period was up last week, I believe, and we have yet to hear about any releases on any other platform. So if they're going to do it,
we do know it's really coming to one more platform. It's coming to PS5.
Well, 5, yes, with the intergrade, intersession, intermediary, interactive, whatever they
integrate.
They need to stop. But anyways. Yes. They just need to stop. But so we know that, but I don't consider that a new platform. I consider that just a
I don't really.
So I'm hoping that the E3 news will give us that it is going to launch on Xbox, that it is going to launch on Stadia. Like, that's what I'm hoping for. I don't know if I'm going to be seriously let down or if the contract that made Integrate happen gave them another exclusivity period. But I'm hoping. I'm hoping, because Final Fantasy VII is still in my top 3 video games of all time, and I've been playing games for 30 years now. Like I'm hoping. I want to play the remake. I don't own a PlayStation system. I'm hoping it'll come out on PC, at least PC. If it's on a PC, I'm happy because I have one that'll be able to play it. Stadia would be great. I might get lucky. We'll see.
Keep your eye out. We'll get a decent deal on the PS4 on like eBay or something. As people getting rid of them.
If I'm gonna buy one, I'm just gonna buy a PS5. But I'm probably gonna buy an X. I don't have a great reason to buy the X over the 5. So this is gonna sound horrible, but my primary reason is I just think the PS5 is ugly as sin.
I agree.
And I don't need a Tower of Sauron in my home. So that's probably why I'm leaning toward the X. Well, let me clarify that. I'm leaning toward the X also because of the browser, which means I can play Stadia on it. And GeForce Now.
Edge, I saw that.
So yeah. So that's probably the real thing that put me over the edge of that one. Over the edge. Sorry.
Good old Edge browser. But yeah, it's funny you should mention the Tower of Sauron, because I would quite happily have one if it looked more like the Tower of Sauron in my house. As a big Lord of the Rings fan, I'd love that, a little red eye on the top. And I know as you were saying that, I think Richie's is creeping over his shoulder, staring at him right now as well. In its box.
The box is there.
Creeping up on you. But you did mention in there as well, if it comes to PC. Now that brings us on to our next story of the week, and that is CD Projekt Red released some of their Cyberpunk sales numbers. Units sold by platform. They're still going through the whole refund process, and essentially all the damage that was done, barely anyone in the grander scheme of things refunded it. So they still made millions upon millions, and they did release a little pie chart out there to showcase what was sold. And it was funny you said PC there, Avery, and that immediately just brought up this story because Stadia was bundled in with PC, funny enough, in this little pie segment. So we've got PlayStation 4, 28% units sold. Xbox One, 17% units sold. So there's the market split there. PC and Stadia, 56%, the lion's share of the market. However, with Stadia not being broken down into its own category, it's hard to tell the numbers. And I think a couple of people on Twitter were right out and point out it's probably best not knowing at this moment in time. But it's nice to see it up there. And I would love to see some hard concrete numbers at some point. But I don't think it should be from a publisher and a separate developer. It should be from Stadia Direct.
Yeah, and they're not going to publish that numbers unless they're amazing. Unless they're up there with the Xbox and PlayStation, they're not publishing them numbers.
They could quite rightly just come out and say anyone with a Gmail has Stadia. If we go by Game Pass rules, when they say 30 million people are playing Sea of Thieves, and it's are they though? Are they? So yeah, anyone who's got a Gmail, which would be in the billions right now, billions of people are playing active Stadia.
I still think Stadia still haven't quite figured out how to sell their platform to people.
As a person who works in software, I get requests from my clients for bits of numbers and things of that nature, and I can tell you flat out, sometimes I know the numbers. I have the numbers available, or I'll go query them and I'll be good. And sometimes my response to the client will be, oh yes, it's this. My company sends 300 million emails a month. Sometimes my response will be, unfortunately, I'm just not at liberty to share those numbers. I didn't get permission from my partners to share those with you, and it's because when I looked at the number,
permission, but I didn't get it.
I didn't ask anybody if I wanted to share those, unfortunately I don't have numbers on that. Oh, I have numbers on that. I'm not telling you. So we're never going to get Stadia numbers until the number is big enough to be impressive. And I bet you. So we have Google I/O coming up in just a little bit, and the expectation, it's reasonable to expect that something Stadia will be there. I personally think the only thing Stadia that's going to be there is going to be the Chromecast for Google TV. That's where they'll announce it. We're not going to get it until June or May, and then that's where they'll announce it. That's what I'm thinking, but that's just me. Maybe we'll get big announcements. It'll be wonderful. New controller colors, who knows? But one of the things that they do every year at Google I/O is they put up the numbers. Here's the Android distribution. Here's how many Chrome users have. Here's how many Google Photos have been taken. And I doubt we get numbers from Stadia because I don't think they will show a number until the number gets into the 7-digit mark, and I don't think we're there yet. Until they can say we have 2.3 million daily active users on Stadia, which I don't think we have, I don't think we're going to see numbers. It's going to be 5 years. I think it's going to be 3 to 5 years before they start actually putting those numbers on screen to be able to say, we've sold 10 million controllers, or we sold this. I might be wrong. could be surprised. It's the same thing with Cyberpunk. They weren't going to come out and say sold 85,000 copies on Stadia. Yeah. Because 85,000 copies for a brand new platform might be impressive. Might very well be impressive. Yeah. But when they sold like several million copies of it, it just doesn't. It's the meme of the little kid, and then there's the giant with all the arrows hitting it. That's like, we're the little kid right now. We're just not going to see that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with statistics because in theory, Stadia just lives on in perpetuity. There is no generational leap. So whereas PlayStation 4 inevitably will stop when its production stops, Stadia could just keep getting bigger and bigger. So in 50 years, it could just outlive them all by numbers sold by purely not having iterations.
Success by persistence.
Yeah, we will outlive them all. But an interesting one, I'm thinking, looking at the stats, is I wonder at what point we can, or someone can reverse engineer the stats. So you look at sales on Steam, you look at sales on GOG, and then from that deduct the Stadia sales. Because that can't be that far off.
That's
right?
Interesting.
That's doable.
Somebody tweet Jack to Slip.
Yeah. Jack's our guy. That's maths, right? That's how it works. We'll take...
all you need.
Sorry, give me 1 second. I have to tweet at him right now.
all you need is the numbers for one of these platforms, and you've got the numbers for all the platforms.
Well, yeah, because you can take away the PlayStation 1 sold, because Sony and them are always big on that, and so at some point we will reverse engineer this. I believe in us. Not now because we're doing a podcast, and obviously we'll probably be silent, clicking and typing away for the next 20 minutes while we figure out some number crunching.
We're over an hour into a podcast. Let's
but Avery, you hit up Jack because I know he's the stats guy. He'll be able to do this. I believe in him. Yeah. I believe in him. But yeah, interesting. Cyberpunk talking about it. It's obviously. It's kind of weird business sense that they throw about how much profit they made from a broken product, and I think just pure down to probably... I'd imagine a lot of people didn't refund it just down to laziness. I'd be one of them people. The game actually ran to a degree, but I wasn't pissed off to that degree. Actually, I played on Stadia, so it worked for me. So
a lot of people are probably just waiting for it to be patched and stuff like, okay, it's kind of broken now, but if I just wait out, I still want to play this game.
Yeah. I've done that with a lot of games where I buy them and just never get around to playing them. So I own them, but they're just going to forever sit on my shelf or sit in my library. But they made money, and I guess they've always got The Witcher to fall back on, and they've said they're going to support it. So I'm sure it'll be phenomenal one day, but we'll see how many patches we get for that one.
People have tossed a coin to their Witcher. Haha.
Exactly. There are lots of coins. Final stories, just a quick wrap for the week. The Immortals Rising DLC, the final one, is finally dropped. I've had a little play of it. It's very weird, guys. I know I mentioned last week, Richie, that I had some odd thoughts on this DLC. Avery, you mentioned you've not played it yet because you were thinking about Ubisoft Plus. If you've not looked at this too much, this game is a top-down version of the game, and I've seen loads of people on Twitter say the control scheme offers no freedom to the people who are now used to how Immortals plays traditionally, because it's practically its own game. I get it. It very much seems like Ubisoft is just testing the water with different game styles, different genres with the skin of Immortals Phoenix Rising. It's a new character. It links in with the main story, but I can't picture any other game who's changed their entire framework.
Way to do a tech demo. Like, let's just put this as DLC into this game, and then let's see what people think of it.
It's just, I can't think.
We've released a new DLC for Borderlands 3 where it's now a top-down racing simulator.
Yeah. It's similar. It's so weird. Like,
that might work for Borderlands, actually, because it is cars.
It could, actually.
Don't give them ideas. But, yeah, I've seen people say, like, the inventory management, because it is like a top-down brawler now, essentially. You've got resources to manage, a lot more than you did in the main game. Yeah. It's just such an odd choice. Like, great if it works, but it should have been probably a standalone.
New DLC for Call of Duty Warzone. It's now a real-time strategy.
No, then it'd be like new DLC for Call of Duty Warzone. We've added Picross. Like,
yeah, I can't think of any other franchise that's pivoted so much from the core gameplay to this.
It's almost like somebody. It's the same thing I said with Valhalla, that somebody was developing a Vikings game at Ubisoft, and they realized it wouldn't sell enough, so they said, screw it, let's just put it in the Assassin's Creed franchise and throw some elements on there. And so maybe the same thing happened here. Somebody was developing a new isometric brawler game, Darksiders Genesis, twin stick, whatever, and they were like, it's not going to sell enough. You know what? Change the skins and throw it in as a DLC and go from there. Maybe.
I'm convinced Immortals Phoenix Rising was anyway just the ideas that didn't quite make it for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or it didn't fit the tone of that game. So we're jettisoning these ideas, but we've got this big collection of awesome ideas. Let's make a game around them.
Yeah, Zelda's popular. Let's do something with that. But I think my take on that is similar to what you said, Avery, where there's like Ubisoft works across many studios, and the second DLC, The Mists of the Eastern Realm, was developed by a subsidiary of Ubisoft. It wasn't made by the core Odyssey team. It was a secondary team. This was probably the same, where similar to what you said, Avery, they were probably working away on this game, and they came to present it, and they went, "Guys, you're supposed to be making an Immortals game." And I went, "Oh shit, what was that?" And they're like, "It's a third-person action adventure with puzzles." They're like, "Oh, we thought it was a top-down." They're like, "No," and they went, "Well, we've made it now. What more can we do?" It's like, well, it's the last DLC. Let's just get it out and see how it does.
Oh no, we were making a soccer simulator. We thought it was okay. It'll be Godball. We'll call it Godball, and it'll be the new release for.
You know what it could be? There could be a small team working on this, like their own idea for a new game. Pitched it. It got turned down. They got moved on to the Immortals Phoenix Rising DLC. So right, we're doing our game anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna just make our game regardless of what we're told from the higher ups. Yeah, they'll never know. But
we've already committed all the code to GitHub. Sorry, nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, it's so peculiar. But I'm gonna play it just because I want the 100% completion. But it's very weird. It plays. I mean, it's fun still, but it's not the fun I was having from the other 70 hours I put into the game. It's weird. But anyway, that's the kind of final news story we've got for the week. I'm sure there's other titles and games, DLC and stuff out there. I know Dead by Daylight gets updates that we just don't. I know you, again, Avery, on Stadia Source, you have the articles for it, but it's so hard to keep up with so many like little incremental stories from everywhere. I think that brings us to an end of our big stories on the dock this week. There was a little only on Stadia segment I will bring up because it's always funny. We do a little thing here on the podcast Stadia where it's only on Stadia. This could only happen on Stadia. And similar to the Ubisoft Plus story we covered, the state share stuff that was going on Twitter where Stadia don't know what games have state share in their library. And people had to tweet at them saying, these are the games, and I think they tweeted back saying the only games that are available on Stadia that can use state shares: Hitman, Hitman 2, Hitman 3, and Pixel Junk Raiders. And people had to reply to them saying, actually, there's Monster Boys. Monster Boys just had an update.
Raider.
Yeah.
Forgotten a lot. That is because they outsource that.
Yeah. Judgment has it too, right? That was what kicked it all off.
Yeah.
Judgment was.
It's and it brand new, just added it in. Yeah, that's the behind the scenes for everybody. In case you didn't know, there's not actually Google employees responding to these things. They all work for somebody else, and I know that because I almost applied for that job.
Yeah.
I was this close to going to work for. I don't remember the name of the company, but it's not. It's the company that technically Kathleen and Grace work for Google, but the people that work for them do not work for Google. They work for contractors.
It's not Gecko, is it? I only say that because in the UK, all of our Google reps for like the Pixel phones and the Chromebooks and stuff, they're all hired by a company called Gecko Recruitment, and they kind of just do all the regional boots on the ground jobs. So. But that's just Google in a nutshell, isn't it? It's such a vast company. There's a lot of logistics to keep going. But I just thought it was funny.
Oh, it's Global Logic. Global Logic. Oh. They are headquartered in Mountain View, California.
They sound like the type of division within Watch Dogs that I've just started playing. That would just be like a corporation within Global Logic, bringing you the latest hybrid drone technology to your door, like that kind of. Weird systematic thing breakdown, but that's all we have for the week in the show. We'll wrap up with our pro predictions. I think, gentlemen, we're on the cusp this week. Probably Tuesday or Thursday we will hear about May's pro games, which is crazy to say that we're almost in May already, But Avery, any off the top of your head that you're expecting to see? Or Richie?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that we'll finally get Arc drop on the 1st, and then because it's supposed to drop into Pro, and we've been overdue for that one. So I think that is likely to happen. In terms of games that are already like there that might flip to Pro, probably one of the Typing Chronicles games, the Nanotale Epistory. Those are in that cheapish range for that. We got a lot of those like sub $30 games in the past couple months. Welcome to Elk, the Shantae series. So those are likely targets. It'd be nice if they did like a big drop, like maybe a couple. The challenge is I don't think we'll get any of like the Assassin's Creed games because you could just go do that on Ubisoft. So
well, depends what country you're in, Avery.
That's true. I am partially cheating also. I went to stadiasource.com/games so that I could look at the list of games to see what else has been out there.
Is there a chance we see The Dark Side Detective, which we were told was going to be Pro?
I think that would tick a lot of people off. If you just paid the $14 for it, I think it'll go Pro, and I think it'll go Pro in a couple of months, if only because it's in the price range to go Pro. Yeah. But maybe we get. No, I think maybe that'll be a June or July Pro drop. I'd be real surprised if it was May. I think that would tick people off.
It's happened before.
Happened before. And that's dangerous. Maybe a Little Big Workshop. I'm just looking at games that are $20 or less at this point. It's
Little Big Workshop
one of the Hotlines Miami's. Maybe we'll get the other Hotline Miami.
When's
Fall? Could be.
Yeah, when's Bloodstained? Bloodstained's out soon, right? That could be like a new game going straight onto Pro. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. That was like announced last week's community blog, was it, Richie?
It was announced, but it didn't have a date on it, I believe.
Sometimes I think they hold the dates back just so they can drop them on the first of the month as Pro if they're so close.
Easily possible.
So, but it's a big
coming out in May. 100 Days is coming out in May, so that could be a mid-month drop on Pro.
Interesting.
I'd love to see Octopath Traveler. I think it's unlikely, but
yeah, I think
it's Square. It's possible.
Pricey.
Yeah,
it's weirdly pricey. Like it shouldn't be. I love that game. I absolutely love that game. I played 30 or 40 hours of it on my Switch. I bought it again when it went on sale the other day or a couple months ago, so that at some point I'll go back to it on Stadia. But it's always $60, and it shouldn't be. It's a great game. It's a $40 great game, and then it should go on sale for $20. And a lot of people.
I don't know. I've got it on Switch as well. I was happy to play at the full price of the game because I think I got logged in about 120 hours into that game. So I very much got my value
for my Switch. I went out the day it released and bought it at Target. So like I totally own for that game. But that was 3 years ago now.
It's a weird one because I personally think it's worth the money, but I don't think if you just glanced at it, it doesn't appear to be on the surface worth the money. But
it's not part of a storied Square. If it was the next release in the Chrono Trigger series or something, or the next Mana game, then or the next Final Fantasy, then I think it would have landed differently. But the fact that it was its own unique thing, Switch only to begin with, wasn't it?
And it's got a bit of a retro feel to it. Makes it feel like it should be probably around the $40 rather than the $60. But
I think Ark's a good shout because we always have like that one tentpole game, and then there's like little interstitial ones mixed in with them. I'd be interested to see if there was some way they could split off Resident Evil Reverse to be its own free standalone thing on Stadia. So you pre-order, you play Village, you pay the full whack, but the little mini shooter within that is just like free to play on Pro. But you never know. Stranger things have happened.
It follows the same kind of pattern now. It's usually like two new games, 2 old games, and one of either set is a $40 game. Everything else is a $20 game.
Exactly.
So it's kind of the standard format now.
But we may be surprised. We shall see. But we'll find out, no doubt, this Tuesday or Thursday or Friday or Wednesday, because they drop the community blogs on any other day of the week now. There's no consistency with that either. So go check out stadiasource.com, because they will have the latest news right there. And thank you for hanging out with us for today, both Avery and the chat and the viewers along at home, for the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 83. Don't forget to click that like button down below, subscribe to the channel so you're kept in the loop with all things Sounds of Stadia, like our weekly live streams, which we'll be playing this coming Thursday, 8 PM British Standard Time. And if you are one of our members, you get side quest 5 days early on this channel, where myself and Richie talk about a EA mystery games topic. That's part of our side quest mission. And other than that, thank you very much, Avery. What are you playing this week while we send you off? What's your game of choice?
It's still Final Fantasy XIV. I just made it out of Heavensward. I'm headlong into Stormblood and loving every minute of it. But whatever releases on Pro, I'll play 5 minutes of on Saturday, I'm sure. And this week I'm playing Get Packed and Moving Out, because that's what we're doing. Is packing everything and moving out into our own home.
Life imitates games I wouldn't want to play when I'm in the middle of a house move. It's like, I want to break from house move. Let's move.
Joke. I was joking. I'm not actually playing.
It might be a practice.
I'm just doing the things in this one.
Yeah.
Practicing.
You should stream them while you're moving.
All right, honey, just throw the...
Get packed in real
put
life.
The camera up.
Yeah.
Let somebody else in our game play. I'll just have Felix stream Get Packed, and then the second camera is me packing.
Yeah,
indeed. And where can people find you, Avery, if they want to keep in touch or reach out?
You can find me on the interwebs at Charm City A on Twitter, because I live in Charm City and my first initial is A. You can find us online at Gaming Source Net and at Stadia Source and at GFN Source. We also cover GeForce Now news and reviews. And you can find my brand new show, The Best Game of All Time, at Best Game Pod on Twitter. Teasers for episode 1 featuring Brian Chappelle of the Nerf Report and Caleb Ross of Play Games Think Games are up now. Brand new teaser goes out tomorrow, and it's a doozy. This is gonna be I laughed till tears were rolling down my face in this episode. So it's gonna be good stuff.
We can't wait. And how about you, Richie? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at RichieC89 and on this very YouTube channel,
which is Sounds of Stadia.
Sounds of Stadia.
Under the YouTube banner.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in for this week's show. Have a great week. Game on. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
I'm Avery.
This has been Sounds of Stadia with a very special guest all the way from Maryland. We've been Sounds of Stadia. Have a great week. Take care. Sorry for that.